Indians never invaded any country ever. How true is this statement? Is it a way of making Indians weak? Is it something to be proud of? And so on and so forth. And in the future, should it remain the same, as if it is our obligation to not invade a country? Have you heard of Kanishka the Great? Many people say he was Chinese. What nonsense! What utter nonsense! He did more than any other emperor, almost any other emperor, to promote and enrich India and Indian culture in an incredible variety of ways. So he was one of our greatest emperors. They did not invade and conquer the whole of Central Asia. His kingdom stretched from the Aral Sea to the Caspian Sea into all of northern India and western India and eastern India and parts of the Deccan Plateau as well. Then he also invaded what is now called as Xinjiang in China and reconquered the territory of his ancestors, because that's where his ancestors lived a few centuries before. They were the Indo-European or Indian origin Tushara people, Tokharians, Kushans. So India invaded all these lands. What's wrong with that? Look at the great emperor Lalitaditya Muktapida. Did he not conquer Central Asia again? Did he not conquer Bahalika, Balkh, and parts of Tibet? He did. So, once again, Indians invaded and conquered. What about the great Cholas? First, Rajaraja Chola, who conquered Sri Lanka. Well, Sri Lanka has always been part of India anyway, but today it's not part of India. So he went and conquered that island, and he conquered parts, some other parts of Burma, etc. And then his son Rajendra Chola, who conquered the whole of Southeast Asia, all the way up to the Philippines. Right? So were they not Indians? So these claims that India never invaded any country, they are absolute bunkum. I could go back before the Mauryan era also, and you have the so-called Yamnaya invaders, whose genes are found all across Eastern, Western, Central Europe. Every European, more or less, is a descendant of these Indian origin invaders. So that is all nonsense that India has never invaded any country. There are so many examples of Indian invasions in other lands. And is it our obligation to not invade a country in the future? No. I believe when the time is right, India should invade other countries when there are just causes for war. When you have just causes for war, then war is justifiable. Like when the Pakistanis attacked India in 1971, when they launched bombing raids via their so-called air force in 1971, that gave India a just cause for going to war with Pakistan. And that's when 1971 happened and Bangladesh was liberated. So whenever there is a just cause for war, or whenever it suits our national interest, we should invade. I think it is in the coming years and decades, India needs a couple of wars, because Indians have this attitude, or this loser mentality. हमने कभी कुछ नहीं किया है. We need a couple of wars and victories to get rid of that attitude. So I think in the future it should happen. It needs to happen. But when there is a reasonable, justifiable cause for war, or when it is something that suits, that is in line with India's national interest. I am by no means a warmonger. I would love nothing more than global peace and bhaichara, vasudeva kutumbakam, and all that thing. But that's not how the world works. I am also a realistic person. So that's what I have to say about this.